Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star on this fine football Friday. It's an OG's Friday, flavoring Fridays with our friends at OG's Brands. Check them out. The official sponsor of Flavoring Fridays. They've got naturals. They've got everything you want to go to for the best premier cannabis-infused gummies here in the Valley and beyond. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is my co-host, Brack. I love this comment from Emily here. So ready for next week, Bo, to start popping off ahead of free agency.
That's right. You talk about OGs. They're in the lab, always cooking up something fantastic. And, you know, the Arizona Cardinals chef, Monti Ossenfort's going to be putting on his apron, putting on his chef's cap, and he's going to be going to town next week, rebuilding this roster. Phase 2 of the Arizona Cardinals rebuild. Monti stocked with cap space, close to $60 million. We'll see when the news finally comes down on DJ Humphries potentially. And just chock full of draft capital. Cannot wait. Even though they were shut out on those comp picks, Johnny, the Arizona Cardinals, they are set to just own the 2024 draft.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about those comp picks here in a little bit, but we did get, just call it an appetizer to free agency. Obviously, the Greg Dortch news dominated the headlines yesterday. Cardinals under the radar today, Bo, re-signing defensive lineman LJ Collier, a former first-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks. Had a good camp with the Cardinals. Really had a first good quarter and a half for the Cardinals against the Washington Commanders in week 1, but then tore his bicep, was out for the rest of the year. They liked him, obviously, enough to bring him back. I'm told expect this to be right around the vet minimum. They gave him his guaranteed money last year. They want him in the fold this offseason. He's 100% healthy, ready to go. But I think we both can report there's not a lot of money. This is, I mean, respectfully to LJ, it's a placeholder deal.
Right. I mean, he didn't get a chance to kind of show that he wasn't what Seattle deemed him a first-round bust when they took him 29th overall at a TCU. And really his impact was minimal up there in the Pacific Northwest. But he came down here, and I think Nick Rawlis, Jonathan Gannon, everybody was they loved what they saw from Collier, and he was a guy that was going to be a big part of their rotation. But like a lot of guys on that defensive line that didn't have any room to lose any of those bodies, they all dropped like flies. From Collier to Carlos Watkins, who also sustained the biceps injury himself. We'll see if he's a candidate to come back. To Leki Fotu, who I know was he removed from IR on the last game of the season, but I don't even think he played in that game. To, Dante Stills, who suffered a knee injury right before the end of the year. Like, it was just devastating blow after devastating blow. And it started with Collier in that first game. But like you said, camp, in preseason, he's batting balls down at the line of scrimmage. He was being disruptive, and he looked like a guy that could be a rotational piece. And it's just a low price, low risk move to add depth to a position that you don't necessarily have.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron. He played well before he was hurt. He had a really nice preseason. Every time I was at camp, every time the Bo was at camp, which was a lot, he was somebody that was flashing during one-on-ones, during team drills on the defensive line. So again, not somebody you build your defensive line around, but it's a low-risk move. Like, as Jonathan Gannon has said many times, told us double down on this at the Combine during our interview with him, like, they want to be able to rotate 5, 6, 7 guys in their front 7 at minimum. And none of those guys are going to play a ton of snaps. Like, yeah, if you get a marquee player, if you get an Aaron Donald-esque type of player or somebody in the draft that's a first or second rounder, if the talent's there, it's going to warrant more playing time. But I think in a perfect world, you want to keep these guys fresh over the course of 4 quarters in a given game and really over the course of a 17-game season. It's where the Cardinals really struggled last year. Is like they had minimal depth to contend with to start the season, and then that was gone by like week 4. And it was just rotation of bodies within, practice squads and street free agents. So I'm not surprised with this move. I probably would have thought this would have come maybe like May, June as the dust settles, but it's clear both sides wanted to get something done. He wanted to lock in his future in Arizona and really prove to people what I think the coaches saw last year was a guy that was going to not contend for a starting job necessarily, but just contend to be a role player for this team. And they need a lot of those everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. This offseason is going to continue to prove that it's more than just the big flashy names, right? That they need guys to fill out the roster, and they need guys that are higher tier, better players than who they finished the season with last year. Now they were able to find some guys they want to move forward with. But LJ Collier, I think this is similar to how they approached the offensive line last year, where they had some easy bunny re-signings of a Kelvin Beachum and a Will Hernandez, where they don't want to go into the draft and have to say, oh, we have to get a tackle out of this class. Now, it's a decent defensive tackle, defensive line class. It's not front-loaded, but you can find some players, that can enter that rotation. I think LJ Collier just being a part of that, it makes it better than you already were last year, just barring if he can stay healthy.
Jules Felix, Johnny and Bo, y'all going to let my wife and I buy y'all a drink at the draft party? I'm buying you guys a drink. You can buy me a drink. I'm going to buy you one right back. The draft party, by the way, limited seating quantity, availability, and right now the lowest price you can get it. So we're going to drop that link in the description. Check it out in the show notes. We want to see all of you there. Our draft party coming up. Round 1, Thursday night at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You got to be 21 years and older. We're going to try to pack, what did we say today on our beat meeting? 125 people into this draft party to celebrate, hopefully, the arrival of 150. Wow. Yeah. I mean, they're making special accommodations for your boys because it's a special night where we welcome MHJ as a part of this franchise. But in all seriousness, Jules Felix, can't wait to meet the fam. Excited to party with you, my friend.
Special night for some special boys and girls.
Boys and their toys.
Jules, yeah, absolutely. We will not turn down any free drinks here, but we want to purchase some drinks for all of you out there. You chat regulars, you diehards, anybody who comes out. I think it was Troy said he and his wife were making the drive from New Mexico, hitting up PHNX Sports on Facebook. They said, we're making the trek from Mexico. Come out and join you all for the draft party.
That sounds great.
Absolutely come by. We want to talk
to you.
The
play there, I think, is to do an overnight then at Gila River and just the party never stops.
No.
Maybe I find a bed at some point. That might be a good time. How about this? Our guy Jeremy, would it be horrible to show up to the draft party with a custom number 18 Harrison Cardinal jersey? I would think the opposite. Whatever you think is horrible, that's the opposite of that idea. Because I think that's a great idea. I might do that myself.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And also, like, when we're like, I don't want to bore people with the minutia of the draft party, but
do it.
The conversation we had in our meeting today was, we're going to put you guys here in Gila River. And we're like, no. We want to be with all of you. Like, we want this to be.
I want people climbing the set. I want people in Damon's personal space, all over the equipment. It's going to be a safety hazard in the best possible way, but in all seriousness, the food, the drink, it's immaculate. And it's just like, I like to gamble. So like, I'm going to get excited and we're going to gamble with some picks. And then afterwards, the after party, it's like sports book. Hello, blackjack table. Hello. I mean, it's going to be the party of the year. And it's on brand for this podcast because it's the biggest draft in 20 plus years in the Valley.
Yeah, it's huge. It's pivotal. I mean, 2 picks in the first round, including the 4th overall selection, where they're going to have the opportunity more than likely to get the best non-quarterback of this class. And it stands to be, as of right now, Marvin Harrison Jr. If that happens, we're going to crowd surf Johnny Venerable around the entire room and then back to his broadcast spot, and then he'll give his evaluation. But I mean, what are you going to hear on draft night that you haven't already heard about MHJ?
We're fired up. So LJ Collier back in the fold. Before we can talk draft, we got to talk NFL free agency that kicks off next week. You guys have heard me say this before. Bo and I have done this show together for 2 years. This is our 3rd off season together, which is a very special thing. But these March free agency shows have not been special with respect to Kazir White and Yeldon Froholt. We need some mojo.
Will
And,
Hernandez.
yeah, we need some mojo, some moxie, and some news, and we think we're going to get it next week as NFL free agency kicks off. It kicks off Wednesday. It doesn't, though. It kicks off Monday. We're going to know deals. We're going to know players. We're going to know terms. And we know where the Cardinals need to address what they need to address, Bo.
Yeah. And I think we'll maybe have some spirited debate, because I sent you a text and I thought it was harmless yesterday. It was like, what do you think about these position needs? And you fired back, well, that's trash. I think you even called me a name or two.
I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, and so we differ a little bit as far as the main positions where they need to upgrade next week, but it's kind of in the same line of thinking. But yeah, and also you've got kind of a big free agent domino. Now, we didn't know we knew that he wasn't going to be available, Justin Madubuike from the Baltimore Ravens, but I think his deal that just came down kind of sets the market. And this is from Adam Schefter. Another deal. Ravens are signing franchise defensive tackle Justin Madubuike to a 4-year, $98 million deal that includes $75.5 million in total guarantees, with $53.5 million at signing per source. So it's a lot of cheese for a guy that's well worth it in Justin Madubuike, a little bit younger than Christian Wilkins, Johnny. I think that this kind of sets the standard now for those defensive linemen that are going to hit the market in free agency, including Wilkins. I think the Cardinals could probably, me and Damon were talking about this, could probably get Wilkins just a notch below this deal.
Our guy Brad Spielberger disagrees with you, by the way. He thinks he's going to get more because
north of that.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to get 100+ million because of the supply and demand courting teams. And Madubuike, obviously, Baltimore had all the leverage because they franchise tagged him, and he wanted to get something done. But I see that, and I see what Baltimore got done, and it makes me think of that meme. I'm just going to call it football Jesus. I see what you've done for other people, and I want that for me. I want that right now. It's like me right there. I want a franchise defensive tackle. I will pay whatever it costs. $100 million, $150. This team, we're signing LJ Collier respectfully for pennies on the dollar. Vet minimum contracts. But, Baltimore's playing in a different league right now with their roster. So again, I don't know if they're going to sign Christian Wilkins. I would pay it 110, 115. That's the going market. You want somebody that, by the way, 28 years old, coming off a franchise caliber season, that for the Miami Dolphins is an anchor of their defensive line that they just can't afford because they got to pay $2 on a bunch of other people, Bo. It just feels like right now I'm a little bit concerned with how that market's going to transpire because so many teams are going to be in on Christian Wilkins. Like, that's the problem. It's the Cardinals don't have an in with him. Like, if it was a different position that wasn't as coveted and the Cardinals had, let's just say they had a glaring need at, like, I don't know, running back or tight end or something like that, where you could really kind of narrow it down. I love this franchise, and I think the right people are involved here, but it's hard to court a player like this with the kind of gravitas that he has and the money that a lot of these other teams are going to be throwing around. So I'm not trying to temper expectations, but
they got a little bit of an end. I mean, Derek LeBlanc, their defensive line coach, was in Miami before last season.
Yeah,
he'd spent quite a bit of time with the Dolphins. So I mean, he was an assistant defensive line coach, but I mean, there is a familiarity there. I mean, we don't have Christian Wilkins going out like Kenny Moore did when Jonathan Gannon got the job as Philly's DC and said, "My favorite coach of all time." We don't know Wilkins'
that's
true
a move
feelings.
to watch, by the way. That's a move to watch.
Yeah, but they're going to have to. That's I think the one thing people need to understand. Like, the Cardinals have made 2 moves to keep players at positions that remain needs. Like, they brought back Greg Dortch, was easy, right? Exclusive rights free agent, and then they have a layup, probably veteran minimum deal with LJ Collier, and it doesn't change anything. Like, they still need to aggressively look to improve the position. And if it's not Christian Wilkins, they need to find their Christian Wilkins in the draft.
I mean, okay,
that becomes a necessity.
You say that, and that's a great kind of pivot point, I think, because it's like, who else could they get a defensive tackle? So I think it was Mike Clay of ESPN put together. It's a really good resource. It's basically like 1,000 names deep, free agency cheat sheet. Okay, and here's the interior offensive line that he lists. Chris Jones, number 1. He's not coming here. He's going back to Kansas City. He has Leonard Williams over Christian Wilkins. Again, that's a name I would target. I have no idea if the Cardinals are interested. Then he's got Christian Wilkins. Then he's got Calais Campbell, which we both think would be a little bit ridiculous given Campbell's age, Bo. And then Fletcher Cox, who I'm told Gannon doesn't, that's not something he wants to do. Gannon didn't tell me that. I had that before we spoke with Gannon. I just don't think that's a max. Sounds like Cox is going to retire. Then there's a guy, Bo, that you like, DJ Reader, Grover Stewart out of Indianapolis, Daquan Jones, Maurice Hurst, Deshaun Hand, Sheldon Rankins. So those are like the top 8 to 10 guys that could be available. But after that, it gets kind of thin. It's like John Jenkins, Mario Edward Jr., Ashawn Robinson. I mean, the household names, and I emphasize household for football fans, it gets thin. And I do think they need to play with a little bit of sense of urgency there to get one of those top guys.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, I guess, what Monti's true approach is. I mean, we only know Monti as the guy that tore this down. We really don't know what he looks like where he's trying to spend money. There is a sense of trust, though, that if he doesn't get one of those top guys and he's signing players that aren't household names by any stretch of the imagination, that they're guys that he's done his research on, and he's just looking to add position depth and can be kind of diamonds in the rough, kind of like Kazir Whites of this free agency. As you mentioned, the Yelda Froholtz, like we didn't even know how to say Yelda Froholtz's name at this point last year.
We didn't even know he was going to start for them. It was like,
didn't even know he was in the league. Then no, I was like, what was the guy world's strongest man competition? Was he throwing kegs in the comp back in ESPN2 back in the late 90s?
He started throwing around defensive linemen when the season started.
He was. So there is going to have to be a certain amount of trust preached, I think, for Monti Ossenfort, because this is, especially defensively, there's so many needs. And if he can address any of them, I think that it immediately gives them a boost, because what you understand what the coaching staff's capable of doing, and also knowing what their true approach is draft and develop.
I want to get some of these super chats here. Gannon plus Kyler equals Super Bowl. $4.99. We need an episode where Johnny and Bo discuss which positions are premium positions. I think it'd be a short one, because Bo and I really just disagree on one. Are y'all expecting any pre-draft trades for Arizona? I would say don't count them out. I think they want to keep their picks, but also if they're going to trade for a player, I would think it would come like in the form of a day 3, send off. Like you take one of your 5th or 6th and you ship it out. I think outside of, if Brian Burns, if that situation presented itself to you, obviously you want to explore that, but anything else, I think they want to keep their 7 picks in the top 105 intact and ready to go. And then everything else after that, I think you could have a discussion, Bo.
Yeah, I think that the Burns thing, if it's going to happen, is going to happen quickly. And then, that does involve draft capital. And, I think 27, unless you're going to kind of try to use it to get a kind of a star caliber player, which, I mean, outside of, Burns is not going to command that. Like who would command 27th overall? Probably a player that hasn't presented, his market hasn't even begun to be established, the trade market. I mean, I think 27's in play, 35's in play, the 3 third-rounders are in play. I think that's where you could see pre-draft movement. But then, like, you're going to have to wait till draft day patiently, because it's going to come down to how Monti Ossenfort views the draft dominoes following. And does he need to get up the board, or is he view like, hey, 27 is it's valuable to another team. Maybe one of these quarterbacks is still here and they want that 5th-year option. Let me set myself up for success continually in this draft and then in the future.
Got some really good insight from Benjamin Albright we're going to share later in the show, just as it relates to these quarterbacks and who he believes is inserted himself into the equation, what that could mean for the Cardinals pick. I want to get to this super chat. Tommy Felix, $2. Just bought my ticket for the draft party. Save me a seat. You got it, my friend. I don't even know if you'll need a seat, because we'll be standing, baby. We'll be standing for 4+ hours, fired up, ready to go. We'll have coverage wire to wire for day 1 and day 2. So even though there's no draft party on day 2, there is going to be 4 hours of coverage. Bo and I, potentially Britton Golden, Damon Dog, live on air for rounds 2 through 3. And of course, we kick off the week in style at Gila River. But can't wait to see you, Tommy, and hopefully members of your family, friends, and let's get after it, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. You do have to be 21 years older. Let's also check in with Trenton. Give us a $9.99 super chat. And I always love listening. You both here from LA have listened to 98.7 every day, but you both are by far the best to listen to with best insight. Stoked for free agency in the draft. LFG, let's effing go. Thank you, Trenton. We appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. Glad we could be here, be a part of this community, provide insight, any kind of entertainment. Obviously, spirited debate when you got to go head to head with Johnny's crazy takes. So, yeah, always.
That's a very generous super chat. Thank you for that comment. I just want to say, in light of that comment too, I get asked a lot. I'm sure you do, Bo. Like, I want to start a Cardinal podcast. I want to do this. Do it. This show will never, ever, ever tell you don't do that. Don't go be passionate about this franchise or whatever it is you're passionate about. So if there's ever any hesitation, power through, and you will always have the support of the people on this show, the people of this network.
That's right.
And that is unfortunately not a common theme that is always shared. So we are here to make that unequivocally clear. Yeah. The more coverage of this team, the better. The more passionate with this franchise, the better. And this show is not in the business of stymieing any of that.
No, not at all. No, I mean, the Cards community growing benefits everybody. The camaraderie of having an engaged fan base, it only benefits everybody. And I think it's long overdue. And I'm glad that we can be a part of, I think, a movement where it's positively going forward instead of, somebody wanting to be the only game in town.
We're not here to gatekeep anything.
Right. Suppress anything. Like this is a celebration of Cardinals football. And we're just glad to be a part of it. And absolutely. Yeah. If you're looking to start up your own thing, whether it's, writing, whether it's podcasting, yeah, reach out. We are products of just taking a chance and a passion play, something we love and wanted to do, and didn't know we were going to be able to get here. And it took other people taking a chance on us. So we'd love to pay it forward.
And in the summer, the dog days of the year, we love to bring other podcast hosts on and make sure your content is seen as well. Cardinal Sin 96, $5 super chat. Good to see back at the best AZ Sports channel to date. Oh, besides 98.7, of course, they got good people over there. Hashtag MHJ or bust. Thank you so much, Cardinal Sin. It is MHJ or bust, and we're going to talk about that. And hopefully, I don't bust of emotion that night at Gila River Resort because it is going to be an emotional night. But man, we are. I mean, I feel like
wear like a tuxedo.
I don't know. We should talk about that. Should we coordinate outfits? I feel like if I wear a tux, you might have to wear a tux.
I mean, wouldn't we look like fools though if we're wearing tux? It's a trade down. And it's Joe Alt.
If you
wouldn't we just be like guys who got stood up by their prom date if it's not Marvin Harrison Jr. and
it's that episode of Friends where Ross thinks he's going to go with Rachel and step in, and then she bails on him, and he's standing there on the.
No, it's Step Brothers wearing tuxedos at the job interview, and it loses its.
See, you put that out there now. I don't know how we can go backwards. I feel like
all right,
we have to do it. Custom Cardinal tuxes, yes. I think it classes the joint up. I like to say show a little bit of class. Nothing classier. Gila River with a couple of buddies rocking some tuxedos on draft night. You love to see that.
You go red, I'll go white, or vice versa.
Yeah. Absolutely. All red tux. I can vibe with that. I can also vibe with our friends at Circle K, part of the Inner Circle, baby. I got a big weekend this week. I'm going to be bebopping all around the valley. I got flag football. I'm going to go see a movie tonight. Bunch of stuff on tap. So I need a full gas tank, and the cheapest gas that I can get, I'm going to tell you right now, it's with my friends at the Inner Circle, Circle K. Because of being a member of the Inner Circle, I'm saving 25 cents per gallon on my first 5 fill-ups. 3 cents per gallon after the fact every single time I go to Circle K. Plus, if I'm hungry, if I'm thirsty, every 6 free on a selection of Circle K products like pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. I'm part of the Circle K. Bo Brack, Damon Dog. How about Michael Wilson? Ever heard of him? He loves Circle K. You can too. Join the Inner Circle for free today by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details, Bo.
Yeah, like this video, like Circle K, like the Arizona Lottery and their new promotion. It's unbelievable what they got going on. The Arizona Adventure. It's awesome. You got 3 ways that you can win a ton of money and great travel prizes. First one is you can take advantage of 3 tickets with iconic landscapes, Picacho Peach, Monument Valley, and Camelback Mountain. Scratch offs that you can win up to 50 grand. You know, pretty standard, fun stuff. Always, you get a couple of those, scratch them off, get a few shekels here and there. Maybe you're a big fat winner. Also, you can check in and geolocated adventures, 10 destinations across the state from Flagstaff. Headed up to Flagstaff tomorrow. Maybe I'll check in up there to Yuma, the west side of the state. Visit azadventure.com for details and directions. Check in at destination coordinates on the website. Enter the tickets online for a chance to win $1 million cash and Arizona travel prizes. Visit azadventure.com for more info on how you can take an adventure for a chance at $1 million in Arizona travel prizes. azadventure.com.
I think we have a list of Arizona Cardinal top team needs. Anybody need a refresher of what the Cardinals may address, could address, need to address ahead of free agency? How about this graphic from our guy, Damon Dog? Top team needs. Not tight end. We got Trey McBride there. He's locking it down. But how about defensive line? I think that's unequivocally number one. Even with LJ Collier coming back and Dante Stills having a nice year, you need more, like multiple defensive linemen. Number 2, offensive tackle. They don't have a left tackle to start the year. Like, that's a problem. Now, are they going to get it in free agency, like a Tyron Smith for a 1-year Band-Aid? Are they going to go first or second round in the NFL draft? That remains to be seen. But how about number 3? So number 3 could be concluded and taken care of, done deal by this time next week with a signing or 2. It's cornerback. Now, they like the young cornerbacks both they have on the roster, but they need some veteran presence. We've been hammered home the point since the season ended. They need to get more experience because the receivers in the division, they're crafty. They're elite. Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. You got to get veterans in here to help these young cornerbacks. How about edge rusher? Right now, Zaven Collins, B.J. Ojulari, not terrible. Cupboard's not bare, but there's an upgrade. Hello, Jonathan Grenard. You got to pursue that. And last but not least, we're double dipping on the offensive line. It's not a matter of if, but when. They will sign a left guard to go next to Yelda Froholt and presumably a rookie at left tackle. And there's a ton of guards to pick from, but they're going to get one of them, Bo.
It's an elite graphic. That is a good-looking graphic right there. Defensive line, tackle, cornerback, edge rusher, guard, and then 6th, wide receiver. And this isn't top needs in free agency, as you pointed out. This is just off-season needs. And they can start to chip away, and we expect them to be active, as Monti Ossenfort has said already this season or this offseason. He also said that when a guy fits their certain criteria, which is pretty strict, right? I don't think it's not without, they're not going to make many concessions, if any, when looking at free agency, because I think both head coach and GM, they fully understand that it's fool's gold most of the time in free agency. So they're gonna be picky, right? And they're gonna address some of these positions, but it might not be in the form of some big name household names. But I agree with that list. And wide receiver is your 6th on there, but we all kind of have our eyes on how that wide receiver room immediately gets bolstered on April 25th.
I mean, like we all know, like if they take Marvin 4th overall, like they could be done at receiver. Like they could go into the year with the receiving core. And I think we didn't include receiver on there. I see some people pushing back because we know how that's going to get handled. It's going to get handled atop the draft in some way, shape, or form. A lot of Pat P discussion in the comments here. Patrick Peterson, Cardinal great. Whether you like him or not, he's a Cardinal great, was released today by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has to wonder now, is his career over? I think, again, he's made a lot of money, has a career in broadcasting. Do not expect him in Arizona at all.
No. I mean, when Monti Ossenfort got up there in his introductory press conference and he described the player that he wanted, and then Jonathan Gannon described the player that he wants, none of that is Patrick Peterson. And Patrick Peterson played at a very high level for this organization for a long time. Like when they showed the news of Patrick Peterson being released, 8-time Pro Bowler. Every single one of those Pro Bowls was here in the desert. He played at an absolute just high clip as a Cardinal. But he's since, as it happens, and as why the Cardinals decided to kind of just part ways with him, and he signed a free agent contract originally with the Vikings, and then re-signed with the Vikings, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is his fourth consecutive offseason. He's now officially reaching journeyman status, where he was one of the top players at his position in this league wearing Cardinals uniform. I just don't. I know I see Calais in the chat as well. Like, let's not turn back the clock. Let's just remember those times in 2015 Cardinals that made their runs to the NFC Championship game for what they were. That was some fun times to watch this team. This is not going to be an organization that's going to try to, appease fan base by bringing back some old fan favorites. They are focused on getting younger, developing that talent, and getting those players up to, positions where Peterson and Campbell were playing, back in their heyday, back in their prime time. It's not, hey, let's kick the tires on this and let, these vets take snaps from younger players that we want to develop.
All the people that were instrumental in bringing Patrick Peterson and Calais Campbell to the Arizona Cardinals have been fired. So yeah. Or let go or have taken other jobs, I guess is probably the better way to say it. Those people aren't a part of the organization anymore. And Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon can't afford to be nostalgic and also try to win games. Like if those players were the best player on the market and could help the Cardinals, that's one thing. That's why once upon a time, Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles brought back Carlos Dansby because it just worked, checked every box for him. He was fantastic. But as Ken Weber says, let the past be the past. Like I've heard Calais Campbell a bunch of times this week. Like I've not heard anything about Calais Campbell. Like they're going to go young. They're going to go vibrant, energetic. Not that Calais isn't, but just like you would hope that somebody could come here and play their best football of their career. And I don't know if that's Calais Campbell at this point. So not to knock on. I mean, I think Calais Campbell and Patrick Peterson are all-time Cardinals. Peterson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Calais, borderline Ring of Honor player. But like, let's just relish the time that they were here, and let's go find the next Calais Campbell and Patrick Peterson.
Yeah.
I'm interested in finding like the next James Conner. Like James Conner, not at running back necessarily, but like find a value deal like that ages well. Like we think the Yelda Froholt deal is going to age well. That's what the Cardinals need to focus on. But what I also say is like when this team has spent money in free agency, even under Keim, a little bit under Graves, but mostly under Keim because that's what we have, a sample size of 10 off seasons. Like Watt, say what you want. Like they got a lot out of Watt, especially in the second year. Now the team didn't perform. How about once upon a time, Jared Valdir? They gave him a big contract. That was worth it. A lot of playoff appearances. Good player for them. Mike Iupati, big contract. Made a Pro Bowl for them the first year. He was banged up after the fact. So
weren't they mid-20s guys though? Weren't they in their prime?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like the Cardinals can go out because I'm seeing this a lot today on Twitter. People are asking other people to temper their expectations, and I have no problem with that. Believe what you want to believe. Team build how you want to team build. It's going to be very difficult if the Cardinals opt to sit out of wave one of free agency for them to turn around and find impact players immediately in the draft and compete next fall. As good as this draft class has a chance to be, we talked about this, Bo, earlier this week. 17 games is a long time. Everybody has a rookie wall. Caleb Williams is going to have one. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, they're all going to hit some kind of wall. The Cardinals need proven veterans, hopefully winners that are bought in, that can come in here and help and carry the weight. And you got to pay for that. I'm sorry. Like Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins would still be on the Dolphins. The Dolphins aren't turning them away. They're just too expensive. So I have no problem with the Cardinals saying, you know what, we can overpay for some of these guys because we know what we're going to get from them. It's just at the end of the day, this is it's an owners league, but it's also a players league in the sense that like you hit free agency, you deserve to make money. I'm never going to behoove a player or a franchise for signing a big money deal. Like as long as the person checks out and I trust Ossenfort and Gannon to vet that person, go spend big money. Like I don't buy that the Cardinals aren't in a window to spend money. That's kind of bullshit.
They're
trying to make the playoffs.
Where you see where they stand with their cap space, it's almost impossible not to spend money. It's almost impossible. Like you can't sit out free agency. Like, and I don't think you can find enough, Walmart bargain bin DVD, caliber players,
right?
And hit, where you need to hit cap wise to where you can only sit out so many off seasons and not spend money. And they rolled over $10 million from last year. And I don't think that that's possible for them to consistently do. Like, they have to hit a floor at some point, and they're not going to just do it and go, overpay for guys who aren't worth that money either. I think they're going to try to find good players, and it's going to be quality over quantity. And then the rest, you let Monty do what he does best and identify kind of diamonds in the rough, guys that are overlooked and guys that he spent, being a sicko watching tape about, and kind of that's what separates him from a lot of these GMs and that have jobs around the league.
So the comp picks, to stay on the subject, because I think the comp picks feed into this conversation about free agency. The comp picks were awarded today. We were assuming the Cardinals wouldn't get any. They didn't. A lot of people questioning, well, what about Zach Allen, Byron Murphy? Well, Byron Murphy, if you guys remember last year, signed a 1-year deal for very little money. I think he had it was like $7 million. Remember, because everybody was freaking out. Oh, Byron, it didn't matter. Now, Zach Allen was solid like he was in Arizona and signed a multi-year deal with the Broncos. But the Cardinals got good play out of Yelda Frodo and Kazir White and Will Anderson Jr. Or not Will Anderson, Will Hernandez. So those deals, the accumulation of those deals canceled out what you would have gotten for Zach Allen, which I think was going to be like a fourth, which is unfortunate. But the reason I bring that up is the Cardinals, outside of those two players last year, had free agents that nobody prioritized, that nobody gave good money to. It's even worse this year. This year, outside of Hollywood Brown, which I think at his best, you're looking at, if you don't do anything, you're getting like a 5th-round comp pick. Outside of that, none of these guys are getting paid, respectfully. Like, the Cardinals are bringing back Dortch and LJ Collier. These are, mid-tier guys. These aren't guys that are getting Christian Wilkins money. So I think the narrative that, we can't spend money, will cancel out. They have no comp picks to cancel out next year. They're not going to get any next year. And it's not because they're going to spend money, which they will. It's because nobody's signing the Cardinal players. And that's an indictment of Steve Keim. There's no players on the roster that are up for free agency. Winning franchises, go look at the teams that are getting comp picks. It's the teams like the Niners and the Rams who develop good players, signed a lot of them, can't re-sign all of them. They hit free agency, they get paid, and they're like, oh, you played for McVay, Shanahan, here's a bunch of money. The Cardinals don't have that reputation. Right. So, like, I don't give two shits about comp picks. It doesn't matter. You need to go sign players to fill out your roster. Do comp picks in 2 to 3 years when you figured out your roster. But I saw people today like, oh, you can't spend because where are the comp picks coming from? They're not coming from anywhere. Got to get a comp pick for Hollywood Brown. No.
Right. No, just get good players in the building. Draft, develop them, start to kind of get that factory going, and then it will figure itself out, much like it has with the Rams in the 49ers. And then they've also been really rock solid as far as developing players and not players, but guys in the front office and guys on the coaching staff. And you're going to start to see that. Like Cliff, nobody ever took coaches from Cliff Kingsbury's coaching. Never. And I think that Jonathan Gannon, it's not going to be the same case. Like they're already pretty well respected around the league and viewed as up and comers. And guys like Rollis and Petzing and Israel Wolfert, the quarterback coach, and just everybody in that building, like they come from, they have some experience at different assistant jobs, and they're just continuing to build their resume, and they'll once they start having success, they'll become items as well, and Cards could get comp picks for that as well. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, I know that when you saw a player walk like Zach Allen, it wasn't necessarily like, I'm sure Monti Ossenfort was trying to do what he could to keep the comp pick, that Yelda Froholt actually ended up, over playing as much as he did and as well as he did, and the criteria he matched it, and it took, getting one for Zach Allen off the board, because your White also took another opportunity to comp pick off for the Cardinals. But that was basically it. And but the reason you didn't re-sign Zach Allen is because you weren't going to sign him to a gaudy big money guaranteed deal and have him just be the only impact player in your defensive line. It just didn't make sense. Like if you can draft and develop the next Zach Allen, then you retain him when you're closer to competing. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to pay guys like that.
Also, like, he's just a solid player. He's not, I mean, they could use him.
Right.
But they also were like, no, we know what this season is and what it isn't. Plus, like, he's a Vance guy. He's a Vance guy. He went to Denver after Vance Joseph was hired, and they're a perennial 6-7 win team, and they're in like NFL purgatory. They don't have a quarterback. They have no money. They have no cap space. They have no draft picks. Cardinals have a clean slate, and they have money to spend, and they will spend it. I promise you, they will spend it by hook or by crook. Terrence, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. 240 plus viewers, now 260 and 60 likes. Come on, everyone, show some love. Listen, Terrence, you don't have to spend your money to get the word out, but we appreciate you, my friend. But yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind liking this video, would go a long way. We are anticipating a big week of shows for this podcast, for this network, PHNX Sports, and every little bit you guys can do, not even just super chats, but liking the video, commenting down below, subscribing. And then obviously a big thing is subscribing to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. That gets the word out, and it just gives us more resources to make the show better.
Yeah, speaking of like the Cardinals coaching staff, we have a pretty wild story that happened on our way home from Indianapolis. I know you teased one yesterday. We didn't quite get there to the likes, but
we were almost there. We were like 12 away. Should I give it away anyway?
No, hold that one. Holster that. But if we get to what? Let's just say 150, I'll give the crazy story about the Cardinals coaches.
Yeah.
I almost spilled the tea before that, so I'm glad you said something.
About
when you were naming all of our coaches that are so well thought of in the league, I was like, yeah, they're pretty good, but one of them
he's a sport. He's a good sport.
Yeah, we get the likes up. We'll tell that crazy story that you can't make up.
We got fan mocks coming up. We also have some insight from Benjamin Albright, which could change dramatically the landscape of the top 5. But I'm going to tell you right now, you should change how you think about your money, your finances, and more with our friends at Desert Financial. Desert Financial is the official credit union of PHNX Sports, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Venerable household for more than 84 years. Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. Check them out. They got checking accounts, savings, mortgages, loans, credit card, investment options, and more. Represent the Red Sea. I've got it. You should too. The Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. It goes hard. Show your team spirit. Open a free checking account online. I promise you, it takes a matter of minutes. And it comes, 2 to 3 days after the fact in the mail. I've made the mistake. I've done credit cards through other companies. I've waited like 2 to 3 weeks. I'm trying to get my money, my credit now. They can hook you up. Desert Financial Credit Union. Tons of locations here in the Valley. Don't wait. Go to desertfinancial.com/Cardinals, Bo, to get started.
Yeah, don't wait any longer on Prize Picks. If you haven't got in on Prize Picks, what are you doing? Our partnership with Prize Picks over at PHNX, we're pumped about it. It's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. I mean, that's saying something because there's so many out there, but it's the easiest as well. It's the most exciting way to play DFS, and it's just you against the number. It's not just a crowded, oversaturated market where, you have to have an unbelievable fluky day to even cash in. Instead of battling thousands of players, including pros and sharks, people that are trying to make a living off this, you can just pick more or less than 2 to 6 players on a stat and combo projections and watch the winnings just roll in. It's unbelievable. I mean, got an action-packed weekend. We're almost at conference tournament season. You got the Suns heating up. There's so much you can just bet more or less on, and it's as easy as what I'm saying. Check out Prize Picks. Easiest way to do it, go to prizepicks.com/PHNX. Use the code PHNX for the first deposit match up to $100. You deposit $100, you get free $100 from Prize Picks. That's prizepicks.com/PHNX. Use that code PHNX. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
It is that easy. I'll tell you what else is easy. Following our guy, Benjamin Albright, on Twitter, a wealth of knowledge, friend of this program. And he's dropping some insight as it relates to where these quarterbacks are going to land. So if you could, pay attention closely to one of these names on here. Caleb Williams, Bears, Jaden Daniels, who I think is set for the Commanders. We feel good about that. Cliff Kingsbury, his type of QB. Then how about this? J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings in a trade-up, presumably with the New England Patriots. Drake May to the Giants in not a trade-up. So that means Drake May is falling to pick 6. And then, of course, in the slums down there, Bo Nix to the Broncos, Penix to the Seahawks, Spencer Rattler with the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield would be flipping hilarious. But you look at this, Bo, I mean, this show in the fall may or may not have said Drake may bust, may be a bust. Now he is subsequently falling. Now, we got a long way to go before the draft, roughly 45, 48 days left. But how does this change potentially the Cardinals' ability to trade down or not?
No, I mean, all you really want are the first three teams picking in this draft, and it's not exclusive to the Patriots selecting quarterbacks, and you set up to take Marvin Harrison Jr. So it doesn't matter if it's May or McCarthy. Is May falling because maybe people are pushing some bad info on him, maybe to get him to fall potentially? I mean, it's still talented prospect, but JJ McCarthy's rise also continues.
Did you see what Chris Sims said about Drake May?
What did he say? Basically, they use trash.
He went full Sims mode on him.
Do you want me to try to grab a graphic of it?
I mean, you could just, if you find it, just tell us.
You can tell us.
But he like Sims can be very not complimentary of Drake May.
He's a straight shooter.
He does. He shoots from the hip. That's for sure.
So he did his top 6 QB prospects. He had tier 1, a class of his own, Caleb Williams. Tier 2, number 1 in other years, Jaden Daniels. Tier 3, franchise starting quarterback, Bo Nix, number 3, Michael Penix Jr., JJ McCarthy. And then tier 4, talented project, number 6, Drake May.
Listen, I want Drake May to be drafted high for the Cardinals' benefit, but this show was telling you back in the fall, like, I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll be awesome.
Isn't it crazy he didn't throw at the combine? He didn't work out at all.
I think he hurt himself.
Yeah.
Remember Cardinals fans that wanted Drake May instead of Kyler Murray? Because I remember.
Pepperidge Farms remembers. Here's what I'll say. I think the Cardinals are still going to benefit. We're a Kirk Cousins signing non-Minnesota Vikings contract away from the Vikings trading up. I think the longer this goes, the Patriots convince themselves the roster is not ready. They sign a Jacoby Brissett as a sacrificial lamb for a year, somebody that has started a lot of games, started in Cleveland for most of the season while Watson was out. They trade down with Minnesota. They get a bunch of picks. Vikings go up and take the quarterback of their preference. I think I'll shoot my shot right now. I think we'll be doing an emergency podcast in March highlighting the Patriots trading out and basically cementing that MHJ will be there. I think that's going to happen this month. I'll shoot my shot.
It's a beautiful thing. It'd be a beautiful thing if it's the Vikings, if it's the Giants. Giants were knocking around Russell Wilson earlier this week. I mean, he was in New Jersey hanging out with the G-men, according to multiple reports. And then now he's down in Pittsburgh. The quarterback carousel is just heating up as we're just days away from free agency, but it's pretty interesting. And Benjamin Albright seems to be dialed into this stuff.
Yeah,
to get up from 11, like the Vikings need to do, to 3, that's going to cost them quite a bit. But like I said, it just benefits the Cardinals no matter what it is. I don't care who the prospects are. Shit, it could be Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and Jaden Daniels. It doesn't matter. It could be any, Caleb Williams. The fact that there are 4 quarterback prospects that are in the conversation and that some teams eye them as franchise caliber quarterbacks and they're QB needy teams and they need to get up the draft board, that benefits the Cardinals in so many different ways.
Can I give you a hypothetical scenario where I would lose my mind? It would be the longest. It would be the longest, like 20 minutes of my life, probably. Vikings come up. They take JJ McCarthy at pick 3. Cardinals are on the clock. They trade back with the Giants at 6. The Giants come up and take Drake May. So you do have 4 quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever order you want.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardinals have to sit there. They get more picks. They get a bounty like we talked about. And then they have to wait for the Chargers to do something. Is there any scenario, do you believe, that the Chargers would not take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 5?
Yeah, I believe so.
To take a tackle or something like that. Harbaugh's a little bit of a wild card too.
He is. I mean, when you think back his really good San Francisco 49ers teams, like their best wideout was Michael Crabtree. Like they didn't invest a ton. I mean, they had Anquan Bolden as well. That he was a vet at that time in his career. I don't know. I mean,
could you imagine? Can I just say something? Could you imagine trading back and still getting him at 6, and then Ossenfort probably could retire on the spot. You'd have to build a statue. It would make what he did last year pale in comparison if he did that.
But
That'd
you're
be
right.
unbelievable.
That would be the ultimate sweat.
I'd
I
be
mean,
throwing up.
it's Jordan Peele sweat gif. It's the airplane sweat gif. It's anyone that whatever your favorite is, pick one. That's Johnny and I at the draft party, and that's all of you too. We'll have a prayer circle. We'll light candles, and we'll try to figure it out and just survive those tough moments, and then hopefully it's followed by just unbelievable celebration. In elation.
It'd be the dirtiest move of all time. Trade back and you still get Marvin and you have all those picks. I wouldn't be able to contain myself. I probably wouldn't be able to go back on air. I'd be so excited. I'd have to tap
draft
into
day.
Yeah.
That is draft day. I mean, and also you got to consider this too, right? Do some of these teams get a little arrogant? Like if the Patriots are open for business, are the Giants just like, hey, we'll let whoever wants to come up with the Patriots pay that price? Or do they aggressively get up to 3? Like, wouldn't you want to just get up to 3 and get the quarterback, the third best quarterback in the draft? Or
the Giants are so poorly run though right now, and they're risk averse. Like they don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're owned by the Maras, and we are into print journalism and Blockbuster Video and staples of 20 years ago. They're not well run. And so I think the Vikings are very progressive. I think they've got a great ownership team. I like their head coach. I think they feel like we get a quarterback with our offensive head coach and Kevin O'Connell, like we can make the playoffs. We can be competitive with JJ McCarthy or Drake May, given the info. I mean, they were winning games with Dobbs, like the Cardinals. I mean, the Vikings were a Kirk Cousins injury away from making the playoffs last year. Unequivocally, they were making the playoffs for the second consecutive year with Kevin O'Connell. So I don't know. I think we can be in a really good spot. Everybody in this chat, 260 plus, we all should be rooting for Kirk Cousins not to sign with the Vikings. It's the first domino to fall.
Well, and I don't think that they're the only quarterback needy team. I mean, Atlanta remains.
Yeah.
In Vegas, I don't think they're content with O'Connell as their quarterback, and they're looming
like though, the Vikings have been the team we've heard about the most.
Yeah. I love these naming former Cardinals in the chat. I don't know what spurred that on. I don't know if it's because we poo-pooed Pat Pete and Calais Campbell, and they say, well, yeah, let's just bring back Darrell Washington and Darnell Dockett and Carlos Dansby. But it's jogging my memory. We're going down nostalgia lane here.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about an ex-Cardinal who could probably still play, I mean, Britton Golden looks pretty good when we see him. I mean, he could. He's told me he could definitely break 5 on it in his street clothes at the combine. I think he could run a 4.7.
I saw Cat Williams run a 4.9.
No way.
Comedian. Yeah.
Who's timing that?
No.
Shannon Sharp timed that for him. Jonathan, $5 super chat. So with free agency, would y'all consider if we signed Hunt? Yes, please. Grenard, Van Ginkel, A. Maddox, and say Noah Brown is a good haul and be happy with that. Yeah, that would be a monster haul. I think any haul that starts with the best guard in free agency, in my opinion, and maybe the best pass rusher, not named Brian Burns, who you'd have to trade for, you're eating good in the neighborhood. And then Maddox, obviously familiarity with JG. Yeah, I think that'd be an awesome. This podcast would be pretty happy this time next week if that happened. Jonathan.
Just the top 2, I think.
Yeah,
make free agency for the Cardinals, and then you start to fill in. It does prioritize getting some beef, probably with 27. Still doesn't take the tackle position either. I mean, that's where you're just like, okay, got to really lean on the draft. And I don't think that's the position that Monti Ossenfort wants to put himself in. But I think if you're asking me if I would sign up today, yeah, I would sign up for that haul.
Absolutely. You want to do some fan mock drafts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got a special surprise for everybody at the end of this too.
I do have a special surprise. And if we get to 150, we might drop a little fun story, wild story that happened to us. Are we going to talk about our friends over at Some Burrows first, or no?
We can, yeah. Some friends at Some Burrows. And listen, Some Burrows in someone's tummy, rum tums? No, because Some Burrows is elite Mexican cuisine. My favorite here in the Valley. Some Burrows is offering PHNX listeners 20% off their orders for the entire month of March. It's a family-owned and operated establishment, and it was actually voted Arizona's most loved Mexican restaurants Venerable family agrees. Throw a fiesta with some bros. Let them do the cooking for you if you got events, graduations coming up, kids' birthdays, and more. They've got a fiesta platter that's loaded with all the good stuff you'd expect. If green chili, beef, homemade taquitos, chips, fresh guac, and more. Plus, they have their famous hot sauce, which I dabble with hot sauce. I'm not a hot sauce connoisseur, but I ask people who are. They says it's top shelf, especially here in the Valley. They've been serving up the Valley since 1986. They've got locations in the Valley and Flagstaff, so you're never too far away from a Sunburrows. I got one right down the street. It's a staple in my family. Check them out. The newest locations: Goodyear, Peoria, North Phoenix, and more. Visit sunburrows.com to find one nearest to you, plus 20% off your order up to $100. So you order it right now, 20% off up to $100 by using the bonus code, you guessed it, PHNX at checkout.
I love how you say taquitos. I really love that. It would probably make me giggle even more if I had popped a couple OGs. OGs always going to enhance your experience, maybe give you the giggles, or maybe calm you down, or maybe put you in the mood to go to sleep and stay asleep. They got their sleep time gummies. They got their naturals. They got the big OGs. Check out what OGs has to offer. Check out ogsbrands.com. Their full product line. Figure out if you like the fruits better, the creams better. They got all the delicious flavors out there. Watermelon, orange creamsicle. It's all delicious. All just got to figure out which one you like the best. Right now, log on, ogsbrands.com. Follow them on your socials at ogsbrands and find them in your local dispensary. You got to be 21 years or older and got to be enjoying those things responsibly on a OG's Flavor and Friday.
Flavor and Friday, Mock Draft Fan Friday. We're going to do these every Friday ahead of the NFL Draft, ahead of free agency right now. Mock drafts could change if the Cardinals are able to plug some of these holes. But let's not.
And we have a grading scale now. It's a Monties. We grade in Monties from 1 to 5 Monties. If you get the 5, it's the full Monty. It's a perfect mock draft. So, and look, we're not like liberal or cavalier with how we grade these things. We're harsh graders.
I will give it half a Monty if it calls for it. Absolutely.
Oh boy. I'd hate to be the person that delivers a half Monty. All right, let's do it. Who's our first one? Tom from the UK, one of our listeners across the pond, delivered this one in the diehard. And believe me, if you're a diehard, you're getting it on the screen when we do a listener mock drafts. Here he's got Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes,
4th overall. Tyler Guyton going 27th overall.
Yep.
Braden Fisk, the combine darling out of Florida State, going 35th overall. You got Tavondre Sweat, the mountain of a man, going with your first of 3 third-round picks, 66th overall. And then doubling down on the tackle position with Daniel Jeremiah, I think, is a sleeper, and Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame, and then getting some beef on the defensive front, 20-year-old defensive lineman Michael Hall Jr. at pick 90. How many Monties?
4 Monties for me, 4 out of 5, leaning toward 4.5. Tyler Guyton's a darling of this show. MHJ, automatic. If you get MHJ for Johnny's rating scale, you at least get 3 Monties. Fisk is a gamer. He looked fantastic, not only during this college football season, but at the combine was the best performing defensive lineman. I would have liked to have seen maybe another wide receiver. You know, that's always going to tickle my fancy, double dip with this receiving class. But 4 out of 5 Monties, a strong mock draft to kick off Fan Mock Friday, Bo.
I like it. I think, Tom, it was a great effort. Johnny just giving out Monties like they're candy.
What? I like the mock.
I'm gonna give it a 3. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr., Tyler Guyton, Braden Fisk, solid. I like the diversity of Fisk and Sweat on your defensive front. But I think and then tripling down on the defensive line with Michael Hall Jr., not to say it's not a need, but would have liked some other positions looked at. And I'm sure your draft boards dictated that, what corners were available, which edges were available. But yeah, a solid 3 Monty for Tom. All right, let's see our next
Not
one.
enough Rutgers corners for you, Tom, to get a 4th Monty there out of Bo Brock.
We'll see what you're saying at the end of this. Benjamin S. Benjamin in the diehard dropped this little sweetheart of a mock draft. Johnny, he's getting your, would you say if you get Marvin Harrison Jr., you get at least a 3 Monty?
You get at least a 3.
And then he's wheeling and dealing. He's moving up the draft board after MHJ. He's getting into the teens. He's trading with the Jaguars, so he gives up 27 and one of the 3rd-round picks, 66th overall, to get up to 17. He gets baby hands Olu Fashanu, And then continues to wheel and deal, drops down from 35 just to 51. He's dealing with Les Snead and the Rams there. He gets an extra third and gets an extra fifth. He gets, let's see, the defensive lineman out of Clemson, Rook. He gets Brendan Rice, another receiver. He's a man after Johnny's heart with another wide receiver selection. And after mine, taking Max Melton with his 83rd pick. He takes the cornerback, and then Cooper Beebe, 90th overall, to round out his mock draft. Beebe only getting the D on PFF's mock draft simulator.
Trevor, how dare you? Another 4 for me. The only reason it's not higher, 4.5, despite the Rutgers corner, the Jaguars coming up, and you going up with the Jaguars. Jags going back 10 spots, going to cost you more than a 3rd round pick. Probably going to cost you a future 2nd or something like that to move up 10 spots like that. But it's in the realm of possibility. Let's say the Jaguars get desperate. This draft class, though, if you're going to trade down, people are going to want holes. So especially with the quarterbacks and receivers flying off the board, I love the players. I mean, Rice and Harrison Jr., we talked about it. Let's get both their dads in a box suite, season
With
tickets. And Larry Fitzgerald and just a who's who. That'll get people fired up to go to State Farm Stadium. So chef's kiss, 5 out of 5 in terms of the player selection. But
especially when you look at the needs.
Yeah, realism drops it down to a 4 out of 5. Still very strong. This is probably our strongest group so far.
Yeah, I'll give him a 4 Montes. All right, next one is Rudy jumping in, giving us all. He's going. He's going 7. I think is he going the distance? All right. he knows Johnny's. He must have known his grading system, so he's getting that immediate 3-star Monty.
That's right.
Got Marvin Harrison Jr. He sticks and picks at 27. Takes J.C. Latham, the tackle out of Alabama. Then he takes Enos Rakestraw Jr., the corner out of Missouri at 35. Then he takes the big beefy Tavondre Sweat at 66. Going Brendan Rice. Man, he's really after you. Brendan Rice, 71st overall out of USC. Mason McCormick, a guard out of South Dakota State, 90th overall. Then we're getting into day 3 here. Dwayne Carter, defensive lineman from Duke, interior defensive lineman. He's taking the young running back out of Wisconsin and Braylon Allen in the 5th round. And then he's taken Kamal Haddon, who was a talented Tennessee cornerback who got hurt earlier this season, but pretty decent prospect. Good value there, in my opinion. Dylan McMahon as a center out of NC State. And who was the last one there?
AJ Woods, corner out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Getting an A- from PFF. This is rock solid, especially give him credit, bonus points for going the distance.
I go 4 again. You're close to a 5. Tavondre Sweat, I think, is going to be a darling for everybody if he makes it to pick 66. I would have liked to have seen a pass rusher or a defensive lineman of note at 35 over that corner out of Missouri. I have no idea who is available. But again, I think if you kick off any mock with Marvin plus a top-tier tackle prospect, you're ingratiated into elite status. And then, you're just cooking. I mean, Braylon Allen is a darling of this podcast. Seems like most Cardinal fans would be pro Braylon Allen somehow ending up in the desert on day 3. So again, really, he went chalk with a lot of those names. No issue with that. But I mean, to me, it's like, if you want an A from me, if you want 5 out of 5, you got to get a Darius Robinson plus a top tackle plus Marvin. Like that's what it's going to have to come down to. And that's going to be tough to do. But it's like Jerzon Newton, J.C. Latham, Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like, if you cook that up, you put all those ingredients in the pot, then we're talking A status. So 4 out of 5.
Give me a 4, Monty, on that one. Reezy Baby up next. Let's take out Reezy Babies. Marvin Harrison Jr. sticking and picking at 27 overall, taking Texas defensive lineman Byron Murphy II, trading back into the 1st round with the Detroit Lions.
I like it.
Giving up the 35th overall pick, the 90th pick, and a future 3rd to get Oklahoma tackle Tyler Guyton. Then he's taken Kyrie Jackson, 66th overall in the 3rd round of Oregon via Alabama. Tavondre Sweat, Brendan Rice, Bo Limmer, a center out of Arkansas, an SEC center, and then Zach Zenner to round out his draft class, the guard out of Michigan.
This is an A draft with a slight curve because Byron Murphy lasting at 27 seems like a pipe dream, but listen, we've seen crazier things happen. This is an A draft. Tyler Guyton, you go up and you get him at 29 if you believe he's a left tackle of the future and you get him on the 5th-year option. No issue with that. Of course, Tavondre Sweat, He's a third-round darling with everybody, as is Brendan Rice. Love the developmental interior offensive lineman. If one of those two guys hits, you're set. Has the heir appearance to Will Hernandez or Yelda Froholt. That is an A draft from Johnny. 5 out of 5 Monties.
Whoa, the full Monty for our guy Reezy baby. And then we got Chase. Let's do Chase.
Great friend of the program.
Our
Chase.
last listener mock via the diehard user chat. Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Marvin Harrison Jr. staying at 27, taking Brian Thomas Jr. at LSU, the wide receiver. Chris Broswell out of Bama at 35. Blake Fisher at 66. The tackle out of Notre Dame, Tavondre Sweat, 71. And then Renardo Green, a corner out of Florida State, 90th overall.
Man, there's a lot to process here. I'll go 4.5. 4.5 Monties.
What?
4.5 Monties. Look
Based
out,
on
league.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. You get your slot receiver of the future and Brian
Who's
Thomas
playing
Jr.
slot?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Has he ever ran routes in the slot?
Or Bermuda fish big. That's what I would say to you. Chris Braswell, opposite Beach Ojolari. Now, there is a concern, like Blake Fisher's a right tackle, so maybe you have to kick Paris over eventually. But, I mean, Marvin and Brian Thomas Jr., that's a sweet little package there.
You guys are nuts. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Chase. I'm just not back-to-back receiver guy. You get some red ink on your mock draft from me. I'm going to give it 2 Monties.
I'm putting my hood up because that was a heist by my guy, Chase.
All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this other mystery mock drafter to round
mystery
this out.
Submission here.
Funny you mentioned the Vikings. Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. is off the board, so this person's not getting the credit from Johnny right away. He's going to have to earn it. Trades down with the Vikings to 11, takes Fuaga out of Oregon State, then sticks and picks at 27, takes Adonai Mitchell from Texas, then trading down from 35 to 39 with the Giants. Going to take Chop Robinson, Brendan Dorless at 66, Tavondre Sweat, Cedric Von Prawn, the center out of Georgia, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Elijah Jones, the BC corner, and then the fastest running back in the combine, Isaac Garriendo, and then trading away useless 7th-round picks at the end of it. This mystery mock drafter, I think this is a full Monty for me.
You know what? I don't love it. I would say maybe mid. I'm going to go with this mystery mock draft. I have no idea who made that. And somebody put a lot of time in that, and that's fine. I would say probably 2.5 Monties from your boy. I think that sometimes less is more, and that's more is less. There's just too much going on, and I don't see a ton of value there. So I'm going to go 2.5 Monties for. I apologize whomever submitted that.
It's pretty disrespectful. That was just me mock draft goofing on a Friday. And
new boot goofing.
Just me. Just new boot goofing.
It had your stench on it. I could smell it from here. Oh, let's go with a bunch of mid-tier guys.
Come on, dude. We talked about it. We just had a conversation about the Vikings, and you're praising everybody. Once you see me, once you sniff me out like Jessica just did, she guessed it right. Dee throwing a 3 Monty, and then Dana's saying that's the dream right there. Right?
The mid dream.
Look, it's not going to look pretty when Marvin Harrison Jr. is not on the board. I didn't want to stare that in that reality, but I stayed focused and made the right moves.
It's good. Fuaga is a great player, and listen, Daniel Jeremiah's top tackle, and if you get a surplus of picks after the fact, it's a good time. We're having a great time here. Like this video. How many likes are we up to, Damon Dog?
129 last time.
Yeah. Missing out on stories back-to-back days. Listen, I don't think this is going to be a problem next week. Next week is a banner week for this show. Maybe the biggest show in the history, or biggest week in the history of this show. NFL free agency opens up on Wednesday, and Monday we're going to have live shows, emergency podcast, breaking news, because we're going to know who's going where starting Monday. It opens up. The joke is always like by the time free agency actually opens up, the news dries up a little bit. There'll be some guys lingering, but it's so imperative that you guys become part of this community. Diehards, get in the Discord. We're dropping insight you can't get anywhere else. Plus, you want to have your notifications turned on here at PHNX Sportsbow, so you can be notified anytime we go live.
That's right. You don't want to miss out on any of the action, any of the breaking Cardinals news that we're going to have. You're not going to be able to find it anywhere else than PHNX Sports and PHNX Cardinals. As Johnny said, we're going to continue the chat for the free agency. It just goes on, marches on in the exclusive member Discord. Maybe we drop those 2 stories in there. I don't know, but you got to become a diehard member to find out. For award-winning producer Damon Dog, for Johnny Venerable, make sure you follow him on Twitter, especially during free agent season and draft season and beyond. I'm Bo Brack. Have a great weekend. If we don't talk to you before then, we'll talk to you Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.